We are going to discuss our world, our proto planet, our dear little potato-shaped space rock. And as a part of that, because what we're discussing is multidisciplinary, though very conversational and approachable, all this is some 101 level stuff, okay? I don't want any of this to completely baffle you all. Oh. All right, let's get a grab swag for you.
I guess you better pick up one grab swag now. Kappa.
And it is done. Thank you very much, Dysfemist. And we are down to only 17 capsules remaining. Now, as we go over things here, if any of you have a particular specialty, this is what you studied, or this is a part of your career, I sincerely hope I don't infuriate any of you with how I'm approaching things, or there might be something that is very vital in a very academic sense to consider. So I want that stuff brought up here in chat. But there's some of it that I might not directly incorporate, because I want to make sure we're not getting lost in the weeds, that we're not getting distracted by a lot of other things beyond just a step-by-step how are we going to make our floating potato, okay? So do talk about it in chat, do bring it up, and if you have some interesting sources or videos or something, Daily or Raven might be able to give you permission to link to them and so forth. And I bring this up on the heels of last night, because last night we came up with a lot. When we made our universe was the black background, so we actually made nothing, which was progress itself. Then we made a galaxy, and in chat we had a spiral galaxy with 12 arms. Our solar system was going to have 2 suns and 13 planets. And we were just sort of shotgunning, spitballing or whatever, the planet distribution and how they might work. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a perfect copy. As soon as you'll get this as both a writer or as a DM GM ST for a role-playing game. If you start getting into the sheer minutia and crunch of things, unless someone is super duper into this, their eyes are just going to start glazing over and rolling up in the back of their head, and they're just going to go, can I hit something now? Or who's the bad guy? Who do we have to chase? So I have these general notes here. At the moment, I am not concerned with exactly how they're orbiting or exactly which kind of stars comprise the suns. Those are details that we can get into and we can discuss. But when we were going over it, in order to make sure that we kept things moving and that we had notes to work from, because we can always go back in detail, that I wanted to make sure that I want this stuff to come up in conversation. I want these points to arrive. I want you all in chat to push up your glasses and go, actually, please. Because the whole point of this presentation is to give you things to think about, to give you things to consider. You can do additional research or ask additional questions, but I want to take some broad steps to go from nothing and to be as gods, to create something and set it in motion with some different variables to help us get a descriptive core of what we're going to be further refining over the course of these weeks worth of workshops. So this is the summary of last night's workshop. Okay, we have 13 planets around or between two suns. The sky is dense with stars, which put us more towards the center of the galaxy, where there's these 12 arms that all just spiral in together. Excuse me. And you know, whether or not these are neutron stars, a particular type of a dwarf star, or it's something else completely, because I think Awkward Mancer is you who suggested, well, if there's a little bit of hand waving that we can do so that we don't have to completely abide by physics, then these could just be, you know, these could be a supernatural thing. And that could be the source of our magic or what have you, right? So there's a little bit of hand waving. There's stuff that let's just make a bookmark here and we'll come back to it. Now, as we're making our planet, and Awkward Mancer, I hope I don't make you cringe too much with my discussion, my very basic discussion of gravity, and to show some examples. Because again, we're building things step by step, and if we can get the broad idea out to you all, maybe you already knew this, and this is a refresher, or you didn't exactly know how this works, and this is going to be a springboard point. There's the link that I'm currently looking at. Rip Artist broke the combo. I'm just kidding, Rip. And we can go back. It's not set in stone. We don't even have a planet yet for stone. We're gonna form it very soon. But if we don't want it to be a figure 8, it doesn't have to be. We can have our suns rotate like this down here, or something else. We're putting down notes, and that's fine. We'll go back if we got to revise something because it really super doesn't work. Then there we go. That's what we're going to do. All right. If you recall, are in the beginning, you know, whether that is Genesis, whether that is you're reading something from you're reading a scientific theory of the Big Bang. If you are reading other creation stories and myths, such as those of the Wandjina, the creators in the Dreamtime of Australia. Part of it stopped being a link when I shared it. You'll probably just have to copy and paste the whole thing, Rip Artist. There was nothing, right? In the beginning, there was only darkness and bare land. Now, in this case, there's a presumption of land. But let's go back here. And here we are. Whether we are an active hand deity, we're a clockwork, or we are just the force of nature itself. There is no will. It is just, you know, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. And let's do something like put one item. Let's make one thing, okay? Now, this one thing is not even one atom. You're going to come up and say hi to everyone? So that way there's two beautiful boys on camera. Come on, jump up. No, you're just gonna rub on the desk? All right, well, I'm sorry, you only have one beautiful boy on camera, everyone. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Now, if there's only one thing, there's not even time, right? Time requires two things, as time is now that we have two things that we can compare, we actually get to have time and even a concept of space. Because if there's nothing, then there's not. And I don't mean space like stars and planets. But now we can measure things against each other. We can find differences in between. We can find opposites, extremes. We can find similarities. So in the beginning, there was nothing. There is no space nor time, because you have to have something for there to be space and time. And if we go to having one thing, that's cool. And we can even pretend, let's say that this is, in the beginning we have a point. And that point could be God. That point could be the super dense, super hot center of the universe. Whatever you want to call it, okay? And we'll make it a nice bright pink. That's a warm color. That's a bright color, okay? And we take this point and we expand it. We explode it outwards as if some sort of a bang of an explosion of the large variety. Or if we are, as a god, giving of ourselves unto creation. And all of a sudden, now we have, well, look, now if there's these things, now we can measure, this is one unit. Is it a unit of what? Feet, centimeters, blogrods, flibnibs, whatever an alien culture might want to call it, astral units? It doesn't matter, but there's one of them because it's one space between here and here. And we can measure time because we have things that we can actually measure the differences of. So anyway, pew, pew, pew. Oh, bang, bang, you got me. No, I didn't. Yeah, I did. I totally shot you. Pew, pew, pew. And we're just shooting everything. We are shotgun blasting reality with all kinds of stuff. Oh, isn't it beautiful? Look at my highly detailed science. That is a booger splats. It's one cucumber. Exactly. A banana for scale. And now we have a bunch of stuff. And that stuff could be just suffused with energy and super hot, melting together. It could be very radioactive. Things are melding and changing, and atoms are combining or even splitting. All sorts of stuff is going on where stuff is just everywhere, right? Stuff is happening. Oh, that's awesome. And let's say in one part of space, we now have a fragment of stuff. Now, this is the smallest fragment of stuff. Even if this is one atom of stuff, okay? Even if this one atom of stuff might have been the only thing around, then this one thing, whatever the thing is, uh-oh, Everybody, welcome. We have a bunch of kobolds. You want to talk about science and an invention? Kobolds are a very inventive bunch. Welcome, Kobold Sprig and the Huggernauts. Release them all. Sprig, my friend, how are you doing? And can we get a shout out to Kobold Sprig, please? Ed Spinny, things muted. Much love, good stream. All right. Much love, Sprig. Go do your thing. I will take care of your kobolds. We're not quite at the point where we're tying scorpions on the end of sticks and having a skunk in a backpack, but we're getting there. We're getting closer. Please water you all. Do I have anything like that? Here you go. You have a slime that is offering you a cheer, Shooty Man. All right, Craigar, be well. Yes, first we must invent scorpions. All right, so we have one thing that we have dropped into the waters that aren't even water yet, but we've dropped it into existence. And man, when you have nothing and suddenly there's a something that just pushes, that just creates this ripple in reality, because you have something that is there where there was not. You have something that is there that was not before, and it's creating this this ripple. Now, let's say we are as fickle gods, and we decide to put one little mote of something else out here. 50 Kerblalian snorkel pluffs away, okay? 50 Kerblalian snorkel pluffs. We're getting scientific. I'm sorry, everyone. I don't want this to go over your head, but I gotta be professional about this. Now, this also, even though there are only two things, in existence, and they're now 11 billion, they're 11 billion Baja Blastians apart from each other, okay? We are on course to have our two things find each other, as they will be drawn to each other. As another way you can look at the ripples is kind of like this. We have some very nice red sheets here, okay? Oh, we made a bed. Actually, here, I even have a straight line tool. Whoop. There we go. And now we put something and then nothing. And what's going to happen is that something is gonna like sink down in the sheets. Right? Have you ever seen that before? Have you ever sunk down, you flopped on your bed and and the bed just starts curving in? Maybe you have a very nice memory foam mattress, and oh, that feels good on your back because you're sinking in. And then all of a sudden, one of I don't know, you have your favorite D20 that was in bed by you. Yeah, it's a cosmic waterbed. You have your favorite D20, and as soon as you flop in bed, it goes brrr, and it rolls down towards you and bops you on the head. You go, what the? It was on the other side of the bed. How did it roll over to me? Well, it's because you are a thing existing on the plane, and now that there's this pressure, this exertion, you are creating this draw-in. I'm keeping it very simple, okay? If you remember what Miller said Nebraska isn't flat. It actually continuously slopes down to the east because that's where the Missouri River is. Now I'm going to draw a mostly accurate picture of Nebraska, okay? And we have a force. Whoop, that is not the right color I wanted. These might be a couple different ideas that I'm merging together, and we'll get to it, I promise. That has eroded the land in such a way that even over a great distance, everything starts flowing to it. And this difference could be 1 foot, but it's still a gradient over time, and things are going to keep flowing that way. Yeah, can I get a Sprig shout out, Daily? I was giving verbal shout outs, but I was still drawing at the time too. And I would like to, Kobold brought over, or Sprig brought over 52 Huggernauts, and I want to make sure that we're honoring that raid. So if we go from nothing to something, even if two things now, remember, we are a fickle god. Will one thing do? Nay, nay. Let's have two. And they're 11 trillion baubles across space from each other. Even that super microscopic difference will still see a gravitational pull. And eventually, such as time exists in this state, you will then have a bloober and a blarnag that have traveled across a near infinite void because they rolled towards each other. Because even across such a great vast difference or distance, they had all the time in the world, because there's not even a world yet. And time only exists between them, so they can be patient. What are they doing? They're just doing their thing. Existing, staying in their lane, vibing. Kind of literally staying in their lanes to get to each other and vibing. Now, if you can imagine, okay, that these two atoms, or these two whatever, material in some way, were able to do that, let's go back and recall that we weren't content as a force of nature, a god, fickle or otherwise, or as a clockmaker. We weren't content with that. If you remember, we absolutely blasted this void with atoms of stuff. And those atoms were finding each other, colliding with the great energy of that initial heat. Were able to do incredible, fantastic things. And thank you, Awkward Mancer. And so, whatever this singular point is, Baja blasted after a Taco Bell visit, stuff all throughout everywhere. And for all we know, that's exactly how it sounded. Well, now we have dust everywhere. Oh, God. Whew, doggies. Oh, nature, what did you have for breakfast? There's dust. It's just, there's atoms everywhere, and atoms are getting into my eyes. It is, oh my gosh. Now, what you'll see is that as these little atomic dust particles, blue blabs, Laskanites. It doesn't matter what we call them, right, everyone? I don't want to lose people. I don't want to lose people with scientific terminology. You can call them whatever you want. They're gonna find each other, and oh, hi there. Well, you're bigger than I am. Can I stick close to you? And or a cluster of little things might actually have a big thing. And now all of a sudden, hey, if you want to actually Awkward Mancer, you're welcome to do so. We're not drawing our potato planet yet or anything. Again, details are welcome up here, but there's some things that I don't mind being brought up, but I don't want to account for everything and lose people. Well, now we have 4 little blobby blues. And oh, they stick together, and they actually they're a bigger blobby blue. And then those blobby blues, those bigger ones with a greater gravitational, yeah, here we go, wall of text incoming, are gonna find each other. And then those are gonna find each other. And this is why we have 4 quarts to a gallon. I'm just kidding, everyone. You don't have to like the imperial system. A lot of us in the US don't. But let's have some fun with it, okay? Well, now this one is finding this one that was made approximately 100 sparklings away. This is a sparkling ice drink, okay? And then these two find each other, and they very unceremoniously crash into each other. Ooh, doggies. There's a lot of, this is PG-13. There's a lot of banging going on. But I mean collision, okay? And we get to a point where, hi, Time Max. And we get to a point where we get, we just got 2 really big chunkarinos that collided. And this part is all crumbly wumbly. I'm sorry, these are scientific terms, everyone. I don't want to lose you, but this part gets kind of crumbly wumbly, okay? And there's all this like dust and smaller rocks, and over time, these two just kind of and now we have kind of a weird looking, it's sort of, it has its thing here. And then there's a bunch of, there's a bunch of, hang on. There's a bunch of this. That, sir, is a butt. I'm still keeping it PG-13, even if it is. I think you're allowed to show, butts in PG-13. Oh, look! Garble Flitz. Thank you, Ravenstill. Ravenstill paid attention in science class. Okay? And now we get these 2 things, and oh man, they are just so attracted to each other, and they're grinding, and there's a bunch of heat, and everything. And then we have all this dust and other rocks that flew away. Pew! Just like that, Rip Artist. Whee! Okay? Now, Some of this dust is going to boop, 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 just like that. It makes the sound effect and everything. It's weird. That's a perfect replication of the sound. All right, and oh shoot, I forget how much it is. Y'all can look it up. Every day, I don't know. I'm gonna just make a number up. 10 tons of cosmic dust fall on the Earth and are like kind of become a part of it. Okay, just spinning around. We're collecting cosmic dust. Every day there's like 10 tons of dust that just continuously is drawn in. Okay? We're a big magnetic static ball collecting space dust. Now, some of this, some of the schmutz, okay, is gonna start exactly like that. Sounds and everything. It's uncanny. Because they're attracted to each other. If they're not falling, they might collide with each other because some of the big chunks fly up and they collect the little chunks and then boop, 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 and it builds out. Well, okay, 100 tons per day. Come on, Awkward Mancer. It was a magnitude of 10. How far off could that really be? This is science. We could be approximate. Awkward Mancer is just, I'm gonna type something out here. And so now, in the grand scheme of everything, over the course of 1,000,000 bajillion Yorks. That's right, everyone. We have moved on to Yorks. Okay? After 1,000,000 bajillion Yorks, we actually have a big rock floating in space that might have a ring, that might have a moon, but it's a bunch of rocks that formed because a bunch of little rocks got together, because a bunch of smaller rocks got together, because a bunch of even more finite rocks got together, because a bunch of atoms got together. Okay? Again, everyone, this is the super basic 101 level stuff. I'm giving you things to think about. If you all, again, if this is your background, your course of study, don't type too angrily in chat, okay? Because I'm trying to get the basic premise across. And the bigger that things get, there's more mass. There's more gravity. We're sucking in more elements, more gases and dusts, and also hi freestyle, and all sorts of stuff along those lines. Right? They're drawn in. You see where this is happening? Bloop, 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 bloop. Have you all ever done this? Have you seen that where you put in a penny and it woo 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 woo? Yeah, the birds and the bees of physics. And some of this, if you would like something else to consider, there's that too. And this is talking about gravitational waves. Awkward Mancer says, one of the big reasons we have a lot of circular orbits is because while there's a lot of garbage in space, they occupy absolutely ludicrous amounts of space. So when things fall towards each other, they miss instead because there's a lot of garbage on that rubber sheet water mattress. And they start rotating around the common center of mass. As they lose the kinetic and potential energy, they fall towards the center and start clumping together. The rest as per Matt. A penny, sir, that money goes to charity. Please try to do at least a quarter next time. I'm sorry. Yes, I think it is. I think it is at a quarter. But yes, if you've seen the charity things, you're seeing on a smaller scale what happens on a bigger scale because we're made of the same stuff that acts the same way, whichever scale that you look at. So, if you want to check out something like this, ripples in a space-time pond, and of course, what is this doing to all the other dust? What is this doing? What is this doing to... Oh. Uh-oh, do you see what happened? Here you go. You put the quarter in. Wow. 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 Bang. And there you go. You've donated a quarter to charity. But that penny was found on the ground next to the swirly drain. I only use cards. So you can read about more about that here, but these are the very basic concepts, okay? This is how, in a bunch of nothingness, either by the hand of a god that is putting the Legos together, or by just an impartial, there is no thought nor will behind it, an act of gravity, an act of nature. This is how we are getting the things that we have. The different planets made of gases and solids, how the different elements have come into being. Because when everything was only one point, one central super duper dense core, when there may have actually been no, maybe it was in such a state, you know how like plasma is in between a liquid and a solid? What if there is an inconceivable state of energy and matter at the same time that is that super dense core? There's no way to know it because it can't be replicated unless it is what it is. But it is no longer because it is not. It either is or is not. So if we can imagine some kind of super something, we'll call it, I don't know. What do we want to call it? Oh, jambalaya. Because I had a big bowl of jambalaya. There is a cosmic jambalaya of energy and matter. It's a singularity though, right? It is all as one. It is one thing. So there's really no space nor time because there's nothing against which to measure it. Until suddenly there's now many things because something happened, a crack in the egg. Something happened. Or there was finally something so on the opposite end of nothing that this one blob or ooze or jambalaya of energy massergy? Kind of, I don't know. And maybe that was enough. It sent a wave. And it's drawing it out. Or they're drawn together. Or suddenly there was a 2 that could have then went into 11 quadruple, million billions. Okay? And now everything is sorting itself out. And it's trying to get the band back together. Because everything is swirling around each other until they're finally as one. When the moons and the planets, when all the planets in the solar system, when all the stars in the galaxy and all the galaxies can finally get the band back together after being broken up. That's why there's an oscillation style theory, right? Everything explodes out, and when finally the explosive energy is no longer greater than this mass attraction, then everything starts compressing again back to a singularity, okay? Are you going to finally make your appearance? Come on. Come on. Nope. He's just here to rub, I guess. Coriolis effect on Bullet says Earth ain't flat. Time to daily. And we talked about the Coriolis effect last night. Ooze, it rolls off the tongue, says Daily. Awkward Mancer says that collapse of star-neutron pair, star pair, sends shivers down my spine, how epically awesome it is. There's nothing that humanity invented getting anywhere near that. Mass energy is a thing. Come on. But we can see, look, everything is still circular. Everything is still rotating because everything is still based off of the same things, just in different amounts, in different times, right? Taking up different spaces. If the very building block of our existence is round and spins and loves spirals, everything else is going to be round and spins and has spirals. Here, jump up. I don't want to get you by your scruff. Come on. Come on. Oh, well. And so we get a bunch of really cool stuff. You know, if we have some central mass of near infinite mass and energy, just throw it. And for all we know, what if there's still a center that hasn't, you know, it's the cosmic pimple that's been popped, but it ain't done giving it up yet. For all we know, there could still be this force of just energy and mass just rupturing out. And we're not even towards towards anything remotely like an oscillation, because there's still so much to expand. The air is being let out of the balloon. I don't know what metaphor you want. This is a good way to show it. Although if any of you like pimple popping videos, then there you go. You've created worlds. Because there are elements, there's life, you know, if it's germs, you know, like bacteria. There's elements, there's dirt. And so that's one way you could look at it. And just like we were talking about dust, if you go to empty your vacuum and you spill a little bit and you go, oh man, there's dust everywhere. I'm gonna have to clean that up. And then you look at pictures like this in space and you go, why does that look like the dust that pours out of my vacuum? It's because it's the same thing. It's just happening on a different scale. So, by the way, if any of you are writing a Dungeons and Dragons adventure and you go, man, there's really nothing new under the sun. Because, I mean, there's your take, there's your shape of a dust cloud you can make. But dust clouds are dust clouds because they'll always be dust clouds. Now, where does this bring us? All right. Well, we have an idea. We know that we're going to have some kind of a planet, right? We want to run adventures. We want to play D&D. We want to play Pathfinder. We want to play Warhammer Fantasy. We want to play Alien RPG. We want to play Mouse Guard. But Mouse Guard needs a world. Alien RPG still needs a world. We need a setting, and so let's create it. We already know that we have just popped a bunch of stuff into existence, energy and mass. And now the question is, I mean, is it generally going to be completely spherical? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, on the surface, as you know, because water will seek its level, like we found, right? And we have a bunch of stuff that is flowing. It is acting in a fluid fashion, whether it's falling down as a cosmic snow or as a cosmic dust, or it is water that is conforming to the gravitational effects over the surface of the Earth, etc. We know that we're going to have a planet. And before we go and add oceans or any of that other stuff, because there's never a perfect circle unless you want to consider whatever the origin of stuff. You can call it God or gods or a spirit. You could call it the super dense hot singularity of the Big Bang. We all seek a perfect circle, but we can never truly replicate it. We can come close. But after a long amount of time, after 75 billion blorg blobs, here we go. We have a planet. Now, it's not very impressive, I know, because it's really just a big rock floating in space. It's circling the drain, you know? Its days are numbered. It only has 500 billion years until it loses enough energy that it'll either just be consumed by the sun, or, you know, something will happen that you know, will be the end. So the time is ticking. We only have 500 billion years, everyone. So we gotta make good with the time that we have in this life, in this world. Okay? Yeah, it will. I'm getting there, Awkward Mancer. Don't worry. So, with all the uneven stuff, because, yeah, you know what? There's another asteroid, and now it has a big old, it has a big old extra lump on it, that, you know, it spreads dust around. And then, of course, we have hot spots and cold spots. And as we're getting some cosmic gases, you know, fortunately, cosmic gases are fairly easy to hold on to. And so, actually, this would be a little bit, it's not going to be an exact circle because it can't for various reasons. It can have a little bit of a trailing. There's more details here. Awkward Mancer or anyone else, if you want to talk about the magnetic fields and why there are ellipses, or if you want to talk about the atmosphere or something, you can. But we have our beautiful planet of Druidia that has a nice oxygen sphere around it because we collected enough cosmic gas in our quintillion spins around, just getting all the cosmic stuff that we possibly can. And then, oh, well, of course, as things get hot and things get cold, it's acting like billows and things are moving. And if enough atoms of air are kind of boot scooting boogieing over the course of the planet, there's little cracks. And if you blow a harder rock against a softer rock, I think that's the Mohs scale, MOHS. Am I correct in that? Harder stuff will scratch softer stuff, and it'll damage it. And now we have more particles floating around. And even if something of the same hardness collides, it could crack, it could break, it could still break down. And so now billows. Oh my goodness. Winds are howling and blowing. They're whistling through all the beautiful little cracks that this asteroid just put into our surface. And of course, with everything being so hot, ooh, lordy, it is hot. We have all kinds of heat just churning and pumping, and we're getting magma turning into lava, which is then acting as a liquid and kind of filling in gaps like this. And then, of course, we get dust from all the howling and blowing that is also starting to fill in the gaps. And things just keep churning and moving over the course of 70 septrillion billion. Lemma berries this time. right? Oh my gosh, everything, man, it's as if cycles keep occurring. Things are just moving in cycles. It is circular. It's weird. And then, of course, because we have all of these processes of now electricity, because static is building with everything churning in our atmosphere, and we have our ground as well. We get not only blasts, but this is providing extra energy that could be doing some stuff to valence, to electron levels and valences in atoms and all kinds of things. And of course, we're still collecting dust, random dust. What if we pass through a big, well, we got one cat, not the one I was hoping for, but there you go, everyone. You got some Nisa cat butt. We pass through a bunch of hydrogen, or we're collecting a bunch of oxygen. Why would there ever, this is a rhetorical question, why would there ever be just a ton of hydrogen floating around? Just randomly. And why would there be a lot of oxygen just sort of floating around? Why of all elements, oxygen? Huh. So anyway, we're blasting, right? We're blasting the surface. We are mixing the whole time. We are collecting dust and gases because, you know, you can't see it, but there's actually a lot of elements just floating around in space. Star corpses, collisions of comets and other things. Yeah, we're sweeping it up. We're a vacuum. We are a stellar Roomba at this point. You see, we're round and we bump into stuff and suck it up. We are a stellar Roomba at this point. And now, man, through a lot of these processes of heat and electricity and all this, we get this really weird stuff called water. Oh, let me tell you about water. Do you know about it? Dihydrogen monoxide. Lethal stuff, don't suggest it. So now, through all of these processes, and you're like, well, yeah, but what does one lightning strike do? Yeah, you're right. What does one lightning strike do? What if one lightning strike were able to make, ozone and some other things too? But let's say that one lightning strike was able to make one drop of water out of whatever was there at the time. And now I want you to think about, all right, I want you to think about this because you drink water every day. How many lightning strikes occur around the world at all times? And how long has the world been around to churn and process atoms through heat that is internal to the planet because of the pressure, to the electrical forces generated by all this dust and other elemental stuff rubbing around and bumping into each other in the atmosphere? I'm not necessarily saying it's from lightning, but I want to put out there processes where things like this can feasibly happen, where something is added to or created from disparate elements. You can't see me because I have the cat who's Yep, I know it's a big stretch. Thank you. I'd like my show back. All right. Well, now we keep going and going, and suddenly water, which is very, very much more liquid, right, than basalt and other things, and suddenly we get something like this, where there's a couple places where the ground peaks up over the water, but the water has really shaped around the world. And then of course we get our trenches. And we have a super deep trench right here, apparently. Yeah, not even a geological scale. Geological is still young. Geological means we're playing in the geology of just our planet. And that ain't long in the grand scheme. So we're talking a cosmic scale. Yeah. And you can see that we're still spinning. We're still gaining mass. Lightning still strikes. Magma and lava still flows. And we're still spinning because we still have that energy. And so this is how we create our planet. This is how, again, through a willful act of a god, through the machinations of a clockworker, or just through brute force of nature. This is what we have. And we have done it. We have created our world. Yay! Happy birthday to our world. It only took 20 billion years. You know, just the right cosmic dust had to be in the right place for a lightning bolt to form a sub-element that then got churned into a fresh eruption of gases. What were the odds? Apparently, one in that happened 17 billion years ago. 1 in 17 billion, and it finally did. And once that got going, oh, now there's more of it. Or now the process can repeat or spread. So there's 45 of you out there. Are you all finding this? Maybe you go, we knew this. This is dumb. Literally, why am I even here? How is this D&D? How are we creating a world? You can call me out if you don't like this, or if you find this as fascinating or stuff that you hadn't considered. But we're doing this because if you know at least enough to be dangerous about the processes, there's so much you can do in your world. Because you have a fundamental understanding of how things grind together, how things work through coincidence or through a guided hand. It's your call, right? Because it's your world. You can big bang all you want, or you can create all you wish by beings. But I hope you all do find that, that this is big brain stuff. I hope that you're finding this interesting or kind of compelling. It was fun. Is it over now, Rip Artist? Oh no. And a couple other questions to ask now. There's plenty of ways to measure space and time because we have a lot of stuff that is churned up in this sphere. Okay? And so, how big do you want this? As Coffee Cat said, Coffee Cat figured Zuvuao to actually be more like the size of our moon. Though, if it has a gravity similar to our Earth, what does that mean? That means that that moon has to be dense. There has to be a super dense, nougat center of our candy planet. Okay. Because the size in this case, kind of like with the Force, the size doesn't matter. It's how you use it. It's the motion of your ocean. Okay. If the mass is large enough, you can have the same gravity on a smaller planet. If we go back to, what did we have here? If you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you weigh 17 pounds on the moon, 38 pounds on Mercury, 91 pounds on Venus. So Venus is pretty close. 38 pounds on Mars, 253 pounds on Jupiter, 107 pounds on Saturn, so close in the other way, 91 pounds on Uranus, and 114 pounds on Neptune. So when we're creating this, if we want a smaller planet, I mean, if we're going to trust that we know we're going to have life and we know all that, we know that, we know that we're going to trust in the system of life creation by a guided hand or by nature, that if it's a smaller planet, that, I mean, gravity and everything will still scale. Now, on our planet, we might be 100 of our feet tall. But that's a standard, it's not 100 feet. It's not the same, because our 100 feet is 6 feet to the people of that planet, and everything is the scale, right? We hold shift and drag the corner to scale it up without distorting it. So it's really up to us, or how big. Like if we play Mouse Guard presumably takes place on Earth. And let me tell you how much bigger Mouse Guard's world is than ours, even though it's the same world. And so think about that. If we, do we want 6 foot tall humans that can, that are on Saturn? And I forget, if any of you want to look this up, how much bigger is Saturn than Earth? So the scale to us is the same, but there's actually more mass. Now I know Saturn's a gas planet, so it's not exactly the same as like a hard surface or something. But if it was, okay, then there's a lot to explore. Or do you want to keep it very small? How do you want to play a role-playing version of Katamari Damacy? Yeah, it'll be whatever it needs to be, Rip Artist. We'll trust that water seeks its own level, that, lightning takes the path of least resistance. If nature follows that course, if we go to find life on other planets or like fossils in meteors or whatever that there was, the life has become what it needs to be for that environment. It's as simple as that. The process will work itself out. Because it never doesn't, without direct interference anyway. We can go back to that Simpsons episode where that I showed yesterday, where at the U.S. Australian embassy, they had the machine that pumped the toilet water to go the American way. Water was doing its natural thing until we superseded, and then water went in the right direction. Am I right, Americans? So we can think about that, and we can, there's a lot, and again, for any of you science people watching here, or hi YouTube, later on YouTube, I know you're probably going, oh, but gravity is going to make all the difference when it comes to evolving winged creatures, or whatever. You know what? Our atmosphere is going to be what it needs to be. Do I know what that is? Nope. But it will be. It'll be what we need it to be. If the life didn't make do, we would be playing where life does. So, we've done it, everyone. We've made our planet. It's a little messy looking right now, but you know what? It'll fix itself over time. It took us, 17 billion years in this example to reach here? It might take about 10 billion more years to polish this rock. Really make it shine. 10 out of 10. There we go. All right, it's break time, everyone. let's have a break, and then we can talk about our rings and or moons, okay? I'll be back in like 5 minutes. Hang tight, everyone.